Hi there. Welcome to our session today from Word Vancouver Literary Festival. Our session today is about Flourish, a workbook for social innovators. And I'm Alison Tedford, Seaweed. I'm going to be moderating the event today. And I am coming from the traditional unceded territories of the Semeath First Nations people in what is colonially known as Abbotsford, BC. And as part of our festival, which takes place in the unceded homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, I'm just so grateful that you've decided to join us today and to get to introduce you to some folks that I think are just amazing. I would love to start by thanking our sponsors, the generous donors and sponsors who help keep our festival free. The Canada Arts Council, the Canada Heritage Fund, BC Gaming, Creative BC, the City of Vancouver, DPVIA, the Hamber Foundation, the Asian Canadian Writers Workshop, Seawill, Pace & Associates, the Federation of BC Writers, the League of Canadian Poets, the Writers Union of Canada, and many more. For a full list of our partners, please visit our website. Without you, this free festival could not happen. If you haven't already, please consider making a donation via our website. And we're just so grateful that you're able to join us for this online programming as part of the festival. We'll have some in-person programming happening on September 16th back in downtown Vancouver at UBC Robson Square, and September 23rd at the Surrey Public Library. And in between all of these things, we've got some really great virtual programming. So I invite you to check out our website and find out all about all of the exciting things that we have happening. Today, I'm very fortunate to be able to introduce to you two guests who are part of the Flourish book. Jennifer Corriero is a social innovator with a passion for supporting young people and bringing their ideas to life through community-based projects. She co-founded TakingITGlobal in 1999 and is dedicated to supporting youth across Canada and around the world through co-designing and delivering programs that leverage the power of their voices, creativity, and technology for impact. Also joining us is Karen Bird, a proud member of Batchewana First Nation near Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. She has over 24 years of finance industry experience across several different sectors, focused primarily in lending and investments. Karen has facilitated countless financial literacy workshops over her career for many people, focusing on youth. Karen is a 2019 Athena Leadership Award winner, the first Indigenous woman to be awarded this honor. She is also a facilitator for the Athena Leadership Model, the first Indigenous facilitator from Canada. She sits on the board for TakingITGlobal and the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce. Karen carries many Anishinaabe teachings, is a jingle dress dancer, mother of 4, and stepmother to 3 more. In April of 2023, she launched her nonprofit and incorporated it. Nakandan is deep in its building phase, and when operational, will support sexual assault survivors and their families as a unit infusing traditional Anishinaabe culture into all services. This organization is more than a decade-old dream coming to life. And I can tell you from experience, both of these women are amazing, amazing people, and we're just so lucky to have them here. So thank you to Jennifer and to Karen for joining in today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's so good to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
You made it.
Jennifer is joining us from the north, and she's had quite the journey, and we're just really grateful that she's able to come online. We found that there's been a lot of impacts to this year's fire season, and Jennifer's travel plans were impacted, and we're just really grateful that we're able to have her join us, and Karen as well. Jennifer, so I've shared your bio. I'd love to hear more about like where you're joining us from today, and if there's anything else you'd like to share with our audience in getting to know you a little bit. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh.
Well, we will wait for Jennifer to rejoin us. Karen, if you'd like to get us started, can you tell us a bit about where you're joining us from and anything else you'd like to share?
Oh,
Oh.
yes,
Should I try again? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you
We
now.
can hear you now. Yes. Okay,
Oh,
Jennifer.
yes. I am in Iqaluit, Nunavut, and I was in Clyde River earlier this week, and the internet is very glitchy. There's also caps. So yeah, this is part of the context of the North, and I am based and live in Toronto. So Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee here on Wendat territory. It's Treaty 13, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation territory. Yeah, so I am in Nunavut, and I am here with Connected North. We work with all the schools to facilitate virtual field trips. So yeah, I do apologize in advance if I glitch out. But it's so wonderful to be here. I really admire both of you, Karen and Alison. So to be able to spend this time together to talk about social innovation, it really means a lot to me. And thanks to those who are tuning in.
Awesome. And Karen, yeah, we'd love to hear where you're joining us from and any more context you'd like our audience to have as we get to know you today.
Sure. So I'm in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, right next to my First Nation. So Baugting, Batchewana First Nation, and Nimkiasquain, Tisnakaz, Makwadodem. I am Little Thunder Woman of the Bear Clan from Batchewana. So on my own traditional territory, which is always a great space to be in. I have been on the board for TakingITGlobal for about 4 years now, and Connected North has kind of been one of my favorite spaces to be in. I do a lot of sessions with youth across the country, and it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to sit in front of kids and talk with them about things that they might not otherwise get the opportunity to hear. So anytime I get an email or a text or a call from Jench, I have an idea, I want to do something. It's like, okay, I'm in, just tell me what to do and where to be, and I'm there. And this was one of those.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? I'm very fortunate. So I work as the marketing director for Word Vancouver Literary Festival as one of my very many hats. But also I work with TakingITGlobal as part of the Fireside Chat program, and also around some of the organizational sharing exciting news about the organization and what everyone's been up to. And Jennifer is definitely somebody who I just love getting to co-conspire with in doing exciting things in the world.
Yeah.
And so when she told me about Flourish, as it was still coming together before it was published, it was just like something I was just so excited for her.
Mm-hmm.
That she was going to be helping to bring to life. And Jennifer, I'd love to hear from you. Like, what kind of sparked this book? Why did you decide to pull this together?
Thanks for the question. I started this organization, TakingITGlobal, as a teenager, and 20 years later, TakingITGlobal has so many youth that are alumni of our programs, and I'm constantly trying to think of ways to support generations of youth to come. And we ran a microgrants program that supported over 7,000 young people within a 5-year period. And sometimes people reach out asking, for more advice. People who start a project and actually want to build an organization or create, be a social innovator beyond a project. So it's the book I wish I had when I was 19, and the people that are in it are people I really respect. And yeah, there are 50 authors, and so I thought it would help to surround emerging social innovators in their journey.
Oh, I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, What did you think when you first heard about the project, and how did you decide what you were going to contribute to the book?
So I think anytime somebody says, hey, let's try and help people who are starting something new or trying to blaze a trail or do something different, that I'm always there to help. Same thing as Jen, right? Being around for a while, you get to see a lot of different things. You get to see how people struggle. You get to see their challenges. And after a while, sometimes there are some themes that emerge, and you can figure out how to give that right kind of advice across all different areas that people can hang on to and use no matter what they're doing in their life. So for sure, anytime we can create something that helps a lot of people, I'm in. Doesn't matter basically what it is. And then she's like, well, and I was like, hey, what do you want me to talk about? I don't know, you think of something. And I'm like, no, you think of something, you tell me what it is. We kind of went back and forth like that for a little bit, and then she gave me a theme, and I just kind of sat down and very much relied on creativity. And once I read it, and I thought, okay, if I was reading this, what would I want to learn from it? And it just kind of flowed from there. That a lot of things going on in my life the last probably 3 or 4 years have been really centered around leadership, and a very sort of internal and authentic kind of leadership, and where it comes from empathy and knowing yourself and your own skills. And so when I was thinking of this, it kind of, I channeled some of that.
Oh, it was so great. I loved reading what you had to say, and I just loved hearing your thoughts around leadership. Jennifer, actually, and for both of you, like, who are the leaders who really inspired you in your journey in the work that you're doing?
One example of what inspired me is being asked my opinion like at a young age. So it was actually like at one point, my principal had actually called me into his office and suggested that I apply to be part of a youth council. And it was an application I wrote. And then when I was sitting with a city councillor, I proposed an idea, and I went up to the whiteboard and I wrote out what I thought we would need to implement this event. And it added up to a budget of $1,000. And then he found a way to get that money for us. And it was very transformational for me to have realized that by just being asked what I think and being able to be given the space to propose ideas and to be given the resources to implement, like, it really opened my eyes and made me feel like, what would the world be like if every young person had that opportunity to feel heard and feel supported? So I feel like those are some of those early inspirational, like, encounters in my.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. How about you, Karen? What kind of leadership examples inspired you in your leadership journey?
There's the one that I talked about a little bit in Flourish. So my first real job, if you will, out of university was with a bank, and that's a very can be a very scary and different place for an Indigenous person to work. And just socially, it's different. Communication-wise, it's different. Culturally, it's different. It's just a really hard place to survive if you don't have a roadmap. And early on in my career, I met someone, and that's where, the leadership part started, was leadership is a choice. And for the longest time, I thought he was talking about the people that we were following, or the people that were leading us, being a little bit maybe more critical or challenging of the choices that they make or the things that they do, so that you can hold leaders accountable. And after time, I realized, no, it's about me leading myself and choosing different paths, different things, or to challenge myself or hold myself accountable or to learn something new. And I think that was for me, when we talk, and Jennifer mentioned transformational, for me, that's what it was, because a lot of times when you're doing a new endeavor or a career or wherever you are, there's going to be obstacles that will feel overwhelming, that will feel like you're never going to get past them. And so you have to figure out how to lead yourself through that stumbling block. And that can trickle over into all other things in your life, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it might be. There's going to be those touch points, those stopping points where there's a lesson to be learned or something to help you on your journey. And so that's he was the first person, I would think, that made that impact on me, that to this day I still remember words that he said or things that he talked about. But there have been many people along the road that have demonstrated that in a different way or in their own right. But that's one that comes top of mind.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think my own kind of social innovation journey started very much like Jennifer's. I remember in grade 6 or 7, I noticed that the career development materials they were giving us were really unrealistic in terms of what would it actually be like to live on a lawyer's salary. And I was like, you're giving people the wrong idea. And so I thought, it could be interesting to actually tie the curriculum to actual real world examples and real world math so people could understand how things actually work. And my teacher actually brought me to a school board meeting to share my thoughts on improving their curriculum, which was wild. We went to Dairy Queen after. It was amazing. But yeah, that first experience of somebody actually caring that I had a perspective on something was just and then I think it just gave me a lot of audacity, because it just didn't occur to me that other people wouldn't want to know at that point. So yeah, it's been bless her. But what I would love to hear is you both had really extensive careers. How has the world of social innovation changed since you first started trying to make a difference in the world? What do you think that social innovators who are coming up today are kind of experiencing that might be different from your journey, and what could they learn from your context? Jennifer, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, back in 1999, so I would say that the term social innovator was not a common term, and there are still stereotypes against that as a life path, but there are a lot more people that are aware of the importance of having the skill sets and mindset to think about how to create social change in creative ways. And there's more growth, I think, that's needed. But if I compare the ways of engaging in community, even service, community service, I was part of the high school year that there was mandatory community service hours, but there were not really that many opportunities for people to volunteer. So by opening up the initiative of people to be really proactive and not just wait to be told what an agency might need, but to actually look at systems and how we can improve systems that are not helping people but creating barriers. That's where I just feel that now, over 20 years later, there's a lot more awareness on the importance of having a society where we're growing the skill sets of social innovation, even if you're working in a government role, or if you're working in a corporate role, or if you're working in the charitable sector, or if you're volunteering your time. But in every space, in every sector, the skill set and mindset of a social innovator is very valuable. I feel that it's more understood that it's valuable, but I don't think that we're growing those skills enough in our education systems. So that's why I'm still motivated to improve the ways that we grow these skills.
Oh, I love that. How about you, Karen?
A couple of different thoughts on that to sort of lead off with. Jen was talking about how, it used to be that social change was through volunteering, and that was pretty much the only way that you could affect changes. If you were doing something on top of everything else that you were doing, it was a side thing, it was after hours, it was only your passion, it was only one thing. And I think where I've really seen the change is that it can happen at any age. So you don't need to be at a certain age to go and volunteer now, or a certain level of responsibility. The change and the ideas for change and the ways that it can happen with technology can empower an 8-year-old to change her world and the people around her or him. So I think that idea of change has expanded a lot. Again, to echo what Jen said, across different sectors. I guess it's not just for charities, it's not just for certain things, it's anywhere that you can see that things shouldn't be done in a certain way and you feel like it should be changed for the greater good, or so that more people can benefit. And from the corporate perspective, because that's where I've spent most of my career, is in corporate Canada, there's a huge shift there as well. It used to be when you would have your annual review, if you could demonstrate that you volunteered somewhere, it would help you get more for your own benefit, because your performance review would look better. You're a more well-rounded employee. So the bottom line would mean that maybe you get a raise that year. And what's really changed is where the organization, finds certain places that they want to make a mark, and they leverage and use the entire organization to make a movement towards something, where it's not because you want it to look good on your performance review, it's because it's the right thing to do, and it's because it's the culture of the organization to be able to utilize the resources they have to make a significant impact on something. And I think when individuals start to see corporate Canada do that, it also fuels them to do those personal things that they want to do. It gives them that fire to kind of take that into other places, and encourage youth to exactly like what Jen was saying, it's not just for adults. Social change is not just for when you grow up. It can happen at any time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I know even as a parent this year at the Alberta Indigenous Games, my son was playing lacrosse, and I got to see, Kurt from RBC, who I've worked with in content marketing on different projects over the years, and actually get to hug him and meet him in person, because he was, there helping orient the athletes and their families and get them situated. So, I've definitely seen how people are moving on those things that are really matter within community, and being able to support youth in their goals. So that was really fun. I love that. So for both of you as parents and being social innovators, how do you talk about kind of the work that you do in the field within your families? How do you share about social innovation within your own homes, and kind of bring that to life in the way that you do life outside of work?
I think it's a lifestyle. It's not okay, now we're going to go and do this. It just becomes a part of conversation all the time. It becomes a part of schedule. You just work it into your life, and now we're going to do this or that, or encouraging the children to think that way, that anything is possible, that they can do it, that there's, removing barriers, I think as a parent is a really big, important thing that we need to focus on. Is part of, I feel like as a mom, that's part of what I need to do, is move things out of the way so that my kids can do the things that they want to do or that they need to do that will help themselves or help others. So I think just on any level. It's more a part of everyday conversation in life, and it's not just a once in a while thing.
With my son, like as a mother, it's an interesting thing in terms of family because, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt. I have different roles and responsibilities in my family. And for me, it's like hard to explain details, but it's easy to explain that I'm doing my bit in contributing to communities and contributing to.
Oh, mid-thought this time. It always comes back pretty quick, though.
Yes.
We'll just
give it a minute for sure.
I appreciate why I've been working on addressing the digital divide since we started Taking It Global. And, when I think about the access to opportunities that people are denied because they don't have the internet connection that might allow them to fully hear or speak, get cut off. We need to be so patient. So I am glitching out. The connection here is part of the realities in a lot of communities. But yeah, as far as with my family, like the other day, my mom was tracking me, and because she can track where I am because I have a feature that allows her. And she said, I'm watching. And she said, wow, like my daughter's above the Arctic Circle. And she's like, wow, like who lives there? And so she became more curious about a place that she hadn't been to. So I'd say that like my explaining that I am following like my purpose, like everybody has the ability to develop their talents and to share what they're excited about. And the other day I met someone who were asking to be involved with our program, and within a few minutes, and she's Inuk. She's an entrepreneur and a social innovator herself, Owasu Soaps founder, Bernice. But she's like, your eyes are sparkly. And I'm like, that's so sweet. Like just having sparkly eyes in the sense of the excitement, the excitement, as Karen was saying, for possibilities and connections. And that the book title, Flourish, I believe that in order for us to flourish as individuals, flourish in a way of being healthy and living a life that we feel happy, it's not an individualistic.
Oh. It's okay. It's okay.
Back. All good.
My punchline was together. So it's like, I got cut off. Rejoin. But in order to flourish, we need each other to flourish. Like for our society to flourish, like we need to see that we each can contribute. All of us have a part to contribute to a flourishing society. So like in order for us to flourish, we all need to flourish, that kind of thing. And also just with the book as well, like there's that inspirational component and like practical component. And, I feel sometimes like I live in a different world in a way. And so how do we make that possibility mindset thinking something that everybody can access? And one book is not going to do that. I mean, it's going to take a lot of nurturing at every level, every stage of our life, and intergenerational as well. I think that's why I'm not Indigenous myself, but I love working with Indigenous communities, be it First Nations, Inuit, Métis, because that concept, it's at the core. Like it's like that's.
She'll be back.
Yep.
Stop talking.
That was the perfect ending. You said it's at the core. So there.
Thank you. We'll take it there.
Yeah.
I love that. What would be your advice to somebody who is considering a career in social innovation? Like, maybe Karen, if you want to start, we'll give Jenna a break from trying to get a whole sentence
Yeah.
out there. But
I
yeah,
think
what would if someone was talking about that? What would you tell them?
I think it's kind of the advice. Some of the things that we've talked about already. All the things that you see in the book, literally, right? All the little tidbits of advice that you're getting from all these authors. As I was going through some of the ones, resiliency, right? Don't get discouraged by challenges. Don't be afraid to challenge the norm, and don't think that because nobody's doing what you're doing that it shouldn't be done. That's exactly what change is, right? And we have to, human nature is to resist change. Human nature is to fight that change. So I think anybody that goes into that is very brave, is very authentic, and is up for some challenges from all different places, probably where they wouldn't even realize. So, just keep going. Just keep going. I sometimes I hesitate to say that because I see so much stuff everywhere that says, don't reinforce the grind. The grind is not the way to do it. That's my generation. That's all we did was grind. It has some advantages sometimes, but I'm gonna say just be resilient and don't give up.
I love that. What do you think, Jennifer? What would you say to somebody who showed up in your office in Toronto and just said, thinking of doing something?
Yeah, one thing I like to have is a wish list. That was something that I learned when I got started, where I was like asked a question, like, what do you need? Like, what's your wish list? And when you get really specific about your wish list and you speak about what you need, you're more likely to attract what you need. And funny story, I was at the high school here, Inukshuk High School, on Friday, and we're going to do an event that relates to Pink Shirt Day. And there's an artist that they really want to book that is not currently part of the program. And they gave me the name. And then so they were on the wish list. So I actually have it in my notebook, Dale. So Dale's name is on my wish list. And then today, so Sunday, so just 2 days later, we're not even at Monday, and someone I was with forgot her glasses. Anyways, I went to go pick up her glasses, and the person who opened the door, I'm having a chat, and it happens to be the artist. So I said, oh, you're on the wish list. And I'm like, is this your art? I showed on my phone, and I made my pitch like right there, and you're on our wish list. So, but just the fact that if you have your wish list, things might just happen and you might just fall into the right place at the right time or not. But it's just knowing your wish list and speaking your wish list, it might give you a chance to attract what you need.
And seizing those opportunities, just like she said, right? Like, what are the odds you're going to run into that person? Don't let that opportunity slip away. Take advantage and just seize that moment and ask.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really good advice, just generally. I know I was coming back from Word Vancouver's opening Friday night, and I was just mentioning I just have to try and get an Uber back to Abbotsford from town. And then somebody overheard and was like, well, I'm going to Abbotsford. And it was one of our board members, and who's quite an accomplished children's author. And so I got a chance to talk to her about some of my ideas around children's books that I was looking to write. Right. And so you just never know when you put out the things that you are excited about that make your heart happy, having that chance to find people who, might have an idea for you or might have something that could be helpful, and in ways that you can help them too. So
Creator makes it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. That's so good. Right. And I became connected with Taking It Global just because I retweeted something that Taking It Global was doing. And all of a sudden, Michael, the co-founder, was in my inbox, like, want to write some blogs? How about an annual report? And like, that was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe. Like, he's my favorite person to email with a random ridiculous idea that I've thought of. And he's like, wow, we could fund it this way, or we could do that. Right. Like, it's so powerful to have those connections and partnerships of social innovation, because it can be really discouraging if you're trying to do it alone. Yeah. So that's very important. So what are the areas of social change that you're most focused on, like at this point in your career? Like, what's on your wish list right now? What are your big goals as you're moving forward?
Let's hear from Jen.
For me, like this week, it feels like a really long week because I'm just going within the context of northern remote communities, northern remote Indigenous communities, starting here in Nunavut. So especially this week, what's top of mind is how to expand our network of partners across Nunavut to be the content providers, so like north to north connections, and how can I help improve the partnerships. There's infrastructure challenges, clearly. We have to go, when we book sessions with students, we actually go through central government or community government services, like through the government, so that hour is actually prioritized, so that it's not as glitchy for the students in school.
Mm-hmm. Again, perfect timing on that.
Yeah.
Not as glitchy, and then she goes. This is a clear demonstration of why connection needs to be a focus.
Right?
You're making the case.
I am so privileged to have the access that I have in the South, and to be sitting here booted out however many times, let's say 30, I don't know, I can't count, because I'm trying to stay in the conversation. But actually, there needs to be more, not only advocates, but like behind the scenes. So I'm literally having meetings behind the scenes with like every department, every local, like regional, like how do we improve the access to not only the in schools, but there's so many knowledge keepers up here. There's elders, there's cultural leaders, there's community organizations. This is the capital. Like, I'm in the capital right now. Like, in the small communities, they have so much less in terms of access to resources. So how do we prioritize making sure that they can connect with each other? And there's different regions in Nunavut that have like different hubs. So I really feel passionate. Like, that is one social issue that, there's many regions, but it's just sitting here is my focus. While I'm here, I'm meeting with a lot of community groups here, and trying to support Inuit connecting with Inuit. Like, how do we support those key groups connecting with each other? Like, how can I support the infrastructure teams? Like, I'm not an infrastructure person. Like I explained, like, we're just a small group of people. Like, we're not a large entity. And that's the thing about being like a social innovator. Sometimes you think the problem is so big that you can't make a change. But if you start to believe it, you won't make a change. But if you think, okay, well, what is possible, right? Like, what can we do? And even if it takes 10 years, or like Connected North is celebrating the 10-year anniversary. And the first school was in Aksarni Middle School here in Nunavut. So Nunavut started this program. I mean, they are innovating, and it's all satellite, right? So I feel that if we can, like, sometimes with technology, a lot of times it's built for a corporate objective or even military, but like I think of the world through the eyes of children and youth. So how do we utilize these technologies and design to boost opportunities for children and youth that will be like, it's like a critical time in your life to be surrounded by as much nurturing as possible and resources that help you, you know, flourish. So yeah, it's the education system that I'm trying to change.
How about you, Karen? What are you most focused on in the area of social change right now?
There was a mandate that I was working on in my corporate life for a lot of years around having a very rich and dynamic Indigenous community within corporate Canada, which is a very difficult thing to do, to create that sense of community. And we have so many of our people and our youth who are disconnected from community. So to recreate that bond, that place where they can go. So I worked a lot of years on that. My newest one, that you've mentioned it in my bio, was my not-for-profit called Na Kendan, which means knowing your truth in our language. And so for me, that's the one. And I feel like there are a lot of resources and things out there for sexual assault survivors as individuals, but not much out there as a family. And so the organization grew out of my own need for that support and my own need for that experience, and understanding that individuals don't make it unless they're surrounded by support and love and resources. You know, the things that Jennifer's talking about for youth to be able to do their innovation. Well, that healing can't happen. And in our culture and in our way of life, it's very much, you know, how we do things in ceremony is always gathering as a community, gathering intergenerational to allow those things, the teaching, the healing, the growing, all of those things. And I think that's been forgotten or worked out of the social justice system or the child welfare system. It's not a place there anymore. There's too much focus on individual. And so Na Kendan is, for me, going to help influence and change those structures to embrace more family-oriented healing, more family-oriented ways of getting through those different situations, and bringing culture into it as well. I'm finding, as so like Jen, when she goes somewhere, she kind of like scans the room, and anybody and everybody that she hasn't met or never spoken to, who's that? What do they do? Who's that? Who's that? And she'll go and introduce herself to everybody, because she's creating opportunities for herself, because you never know when you're going to meet those people again, right? So I've started taking a page out of the Jen book, and every time I go somewhere, I'm introducing myself, and I think, okay, how can I connect them to Na Kendan? How can I have your email? Can I have your phone number? Can I call you 2 months from now when I need advice on something? And it's amazing how many gems of talented people you come across when you expose yourself to those opportunities, and how you can start to weave things together and flourish in anything that you want to do, right? It's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I did a TikTok today. There was a video a lot of people have been stitching, and it was about like, name an inconsequential life decision that you made that changed the whole course of your life. And for me, it was a decision to go for tacos after a walk, because while I was having tacos with my now ex-boyfriend and his friend knew somebody who needed an Indigenous marketer. And I ended up getting to work on a handful of Indigenous film projects and social media, and a podcast that was Indigenous youth sharing their stories. And the person who led the podcast connected me with the Royal Bank, which was how we ended up getting to meet. So yeah, and all sorts of different things, you know, huge work in getting to meet so many of my heroes came from that one decision to have tacos one day. And I was really tired and really wanted to go home. I was not a walker. But yeah, it's definitely and that's something I've seen too in when Jen comes into a room and just lights it up and connects everybody. It's just quite a sight to behold. That's really magic. It's magic. So I guess I was a bit curious about what has been the experience of sharing about the book, right? Like it's one thing to like pull a book together or contribute to it. I know like as an author, I sometimes think like, what if nobody reads it? What if everybody reads it? And then there's this whole continuum of like experiences around sharing your work. And I was curious what that journey's been like around Flourish. Jen, do you want to start?
Yeah, like for me, the happiest bit has actually been the reaction from the contributing authors when they receive their copy. So I would get emails from people like when they received it in the mail, and like they knew what they wrote, but they didn't know who they were alongside. And yeah, it's so thick. It's really thick, 300 pages. But also there's a beauty to it. We have an illustrator, one of our Rising Youth alumni, Lisa, she designed the cover and she created, there's 12 modules in the book and each module has its own illustration for the cover page. And we've taken design elements to weave it throughout. So the text is fonted large, so it's a really easy to sort of read. Like it's aesthetically beautiful and it's enriching. And then I have quotes that are in larger fonts from each author that pop out. So you can just flip through it. So for me, holding it, like it feels substantial. And I think that a lot of the authors within it have appreciated being able to share it with, whether it be their family members or someone that they work with. Some people are professors in universities and they're happy to have it as like a resource for their students. We've had a few launch events, like Alison, you were with us at the Vancouver Art Gallery, and it just having it as a door opener. I was just at the Ottawa Public Library as well a couple of weeks ago for a launch event, listening to another author speak. So for me, it's like a conversation starter. So for me, that's what the best part is of the book. And also when authors are able to advance what they're trying to do with the book, I feel happy. So it's very fulfilling if it's helping advance the good things that people are doing, not just individually, but together. Yeah, like there's people that are going through life changes, like authors in the book that are going through life changes. And I want to add that when I came up with the idea for this book, it was after I had to close like a really big project and I was feeling sad. But then I also was considering like this idea of the blank canvas, like, okay, like what's next? You know, like if I could do anything, what would I do? And I wanted to surround myself with people that inspire me. So like part of my goal was to, you know, pick myself back up and go on to the next thing. And so the process was very rewarding for me because also I didn't get the chapters on the same day. Like I got things throughout. So it was like every time I got the chapter, it was like a surprise, you know, like it felt like a present. It was a present and I would read it that day, you know, either right immediately or before I went to bed. So like it gave me nourishment myself, like it nourished me. But then for the authors to get it and then share it, it's like nourishing all of these circles, you know, people in different spaces. We have alumni in each module of our programs. And like I have my advisors, I have board members, I have our lawyer in there. So if it can be a catalyst to support people, I'm happy.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I guess it's like a little advent calendar of social innovation advice. Getting it chapter by chapter would be cool. Karen, how about you? What was it like to share your words in that way?
I think I just need to echo a lot of what Jen said, but just feeling it from the other side as an author, right? So first getting the invite to actually create a chapter. And so hearing her excitement and trying to visualize what she's wanting to create as we're doing this, and really hoping that what I contribute is in line with other things, and making sure, you're adding that value that you have to give. Because a lot of times we don't really acknowledge how much value that we have to give until, and then other people will see that. And like she said, just, when you get the copy and it comes in the mail, there's not a lot of mail that goes out anymore, right? That's another thing I love, is getting these physical things in the mail as a board member all the time, little gifts. When I was young, sort of side note, when I was young, my cousin and I used to be pen pals. She lived in Sudbury and I lived in the Sioux, and we used to put tiny little gifts in the envelope for each other, back and forth. And it was just such it feels like a very connecting way when you get a little gift from somebody, no matter what it is. So to receive the book, even though I knew what I wrote already, it was like Christmas to see what all the other things were written. And like she said, a conversation starter, right? So you talk to, hey, look at me, I'm in this book. Like, look at how I wrote this thing. And then they ask, well, what's it for? And why did you write it? And who is it going to help? And, those, so it's definitely, that conversation starter, and something to be proud of, right? Something that creates that pride, that allows that, maybe when there, are those challenges in social innovation, now there's something tangible that you can say, hey, we are moving forward, we are growing, things are happening. Look at all of these people who have experienced on some level what they feel is success, or the ability that they've learned something that they can share with others. So it's just a whole bunch of niceness.
Right. I know. I remember the first time I got a book in the mail that I worked with Jen and Michael on, and I actually didn't even realize it was going to be a book. I thought like it was going to be like a classroom resource or something, like become a binder. And then like the Amazon person showed up, and I was like, what is going on? And I opened this up and I was like, I wrote a book. And I went on Amazon and I saw it. I was like, wow, look what we did.
It's amazing.
The most incredible thing. It's such a cool feeling, especially to be able to like hold it in your hand.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, it can be kind of lonely work too. So being able to see that many names, that many people who are doing such cool things in the world, like to feel like you're part of something really magical. And I mean, that's how I feel when I get to do the work that I do every day. And it's nice to see that come to life and flourish. So yeah, no, I just want to thank you both for joining today, for sharing your perspectives. You're both women I admire so much, and I'm just really grateful that you were up to participating. This was a session that I got to propose and for the festival for this year. So I was really honored that I got to celebrate people that I really appreciate so much. So
thank you
so much. Something really cool together.
Yeah, that was very nice.
And so and as part of the festival this year, we are doing some fundraising for those impacted by the wildfires through the First Nations Emergency Services Society. So we're looking at trying to help increase capacity and for communities who've been impacted, and that's all sorts of different literary festival heads got together. So all of these festivals are working together to raise money to be able to help people get themselves resituated and to plan for the future as well. So hopefully that will be helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're also, as a festival, we've got our silent auction. But yeah, there's so many events happening as part of the festival, and I'm so grateful that I got to be part of this one with you both today. And thank you for persevering, Jennifer, with technology and showing the perseverance that you bring to your social impact work, to literally staying online with us for this hour. So thank you for agreeing to come on board, Karen, and to share your perspective. And I'm just very much in awe of both of you. So thank you so much. And if we're looking to get a copy of Flourish, I believe I've seen it on Amazon and also on flourishworkbook.com. So I'll make sure that the link to purchase it is in the chat. It's definitely a great read, and I hope other people get to enjoy it as much as I did. And I just want to thank you both for being part of today and the festival itself.
Thank you so much for the invite and your gentle way of moderating. It's very nice to spend time with you.
Well, thank you.
It was wonderful spending time with you both as well. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit more about the inspiration behind the book and have such a great chat together.
Thank you. And yeah, and definitely, if you're looking for more information on Taking It Global and their work, it's TIGweb.com. Is that right, Jennifer? And
.org.
.org. Sorry, yeah. So check them out and check out the Fireside Chat program. There's a whole library of amazing Indigenous professionals, including Karen, sharing their career journeys. And it's a really great way to learn more about Indigenous excellence. I'm so lucky that I get to spend the majority of my life just celebrating awesome Indigenous people. And so I'm really grateful. But thank you all. Thank you for joining the Literary Magic today, and hope everybody enjoys the festival. Thank you so much.